Hey guys, Lockie here, and in this video, I'm going to give you some honest advice that helped me go from zero to over $7 million a year by the age of 25 in our portfolio of brands. Now, this advice is essentially going to help you achieve your goals. I'm going to get into it in a second because it's actually an internal training that I did for the sales team in one of my companies, and I'm really excited to share it with you. However, I just want to tell you a little bit about it first because when I was in my late teens, my family, we couldn't pay the rent. And my parents were having panic attacks because we're getting eviction notices at our house. And that was a very, very stressful period of my life, as you can imagine, and for my family. And I have never grown up with any role models. Like I never had a wealthy neighbor or, my dad had a rich friend who could teach me the ways. Like I've never had any role models who could ever sit me down and actually say, hey, Lockie, here are some of the realities and the principles that you're going to need to implement and that you're going to face on your journey to success. So I would love to share some advice with you that I've collected just through battle scars again and again. And it really breaks down in this video what I believe to be the path from almost like more of a normal life, which there's nothing wrong with, but what the path to excellence or the top 1% in your field is going to look like, and more importantly, going to feel like. So when you run into the resistance that is inevitably going to come, you don't shy away from it and you actually realize it for what it is, which is a sign that you're on the right path. So in this video, I'm going to use terminologies like making phone calls, making sales calls, dialing, that is very specific to sales. However, I would like you to replace those words with whatever it is specific to your career. So if you're trying to become a music producer, or if you're trying to become a podcast host, or become a personal trainer, or become an athlete, or lose weight, or try a new diet, whatever it is, you can swap in the terminology I use in this video for your own, hobby or pursuit, whatever that is, and it's going to be directly applicable. So I encourage you to come back to watch this video. If you enjoy it, feel free to subscribe. I'm going to be releasing more videos like this. So let's get in. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the pressure of high performance. So each and every one of us on this team is gunning to essentially change our lives. And the only path to truly, genuinely changing your life, in my opinion, is high performance. This is going to be a bit of a rambly video, so bear with me because this is a topic that I think is really important. And this took me a really long time to learn. And I think it's going to bring a lot of clarity to some of the emotions and things and allow you to process them and develop better really as like a high performance athlete and stress management. So essentially, when we're trying to go from the 1.0 version of ourselves to the 2.0 version of ourselves, we need to level up. And most people have the complete wrong idea of what leveling up is. So the analogy that I'm going to use in this instance is planets and gravity. So this is kind of how I describe it. So over here, we have Earth, and this is where 99.99% of the population lives. Okay, and this is you over here on Earth with the rest of the 99%. Now, in this analogy, stress and pressure and doubt and anxiety and all these feelings, worry, insecurities, this is all gravity. So over here on Earth, gravity is 1x, right? So that's the power of gravity. It's just 1 to 1, right? And so you've grown up on the planet with the 99%, most likely your entire life. And so you have acclimatized to the regular pressure and stress. And also, I think that the real good word here is really like discomfort. So I'm going to put that down here, discomfort. Okay. And now there is another planet over here. Whoops. Let me try and get a good circle. Nice. And this is where, you guessed it, the 1% live. Okay. Now there's two versions. There's the squished version of you, and then there's the regular sized version. All right. So 1% planet is where everyone wants to live. Well, they want the results of it. right? They want the results of the 1% planet. They want the, six figure, potentially multi six figure a year income. They want to be able to work their own hours, choose when they work. They want to be able to choose where they work. They want to be able to work from, Europe or Italy or wherever it is, whenever they want. They want to have the control and the freedom and the responsibility to decide what they work on and be trusted and have the competency to do that and like not be micromanaged. They want to be able to take care of their kids, put their kids through a good school, give their kids everything. They want to be a role model. They want think about all the things you want. It's over here. At least at the high level, right? Like if you want a low end Toyota and, a regular house out in the suburbs, in the country town. Like, you know what I mean? Not that there's anything wrong with that. That's kind of, a big part of this as well. Like, there's nothing wrong with this. So I'm going to be talking a lot about getting over here. I just want to make it clear. I don't think there's anything wrong with living on the 99% planet. And I actually think it is exactly where 99% of people should be because it's where they're happiest. However, if you're watching this, there's a chance you don't want to be here. So that's what I'm making this video for. Right now, everyone over here on the 1% planet, it's a bit of an echo chamber. And they look at everyone over on the 1% planet and they think, oh my God, they have it so easy. It must be nice. Well, if I was my own boss, I would be doing that, blah, blah, blah. Oh, well, that person, they have all this money, all these rich people, they should be taxed to death. Why don't they just give all their money away? All those things. Like, there's different political views, whatever inside that stuff that I won't dive into. That's beyond the scope of this video. But the point is, the people over here have no idea what it's like to get to and live on the 1% planet. Because over here on the 1% planet, guess how strong the gravity is? The gravity is 5 times heavier than the one over here. And so everything you want in, let's just keep it sales specific here in terms of the income, the feelings of confidence and competency, the freedom to be able to choose your own hours, your location, all of that stuff comes from being over here on the 1% planet. But to get here, it is extremely uncomfortable. And then you have to acclimatize to the new level that is 5x gravity. Okay, so what does a path look like to get to the 1% planet? Well, this is the path to get to the 1% planet. And you can, when you're over here on the 99% planet, you can only see here. You can only see this section of the path. Okay? You can't see how long the path actually is. And guess what? The rest of the path is laced with barbed wire. Yes, it is. It is. The path to the 1% planet, you don't know how far it is when you're first venturing, or else often you would never even venture onto it. It's a bit of a joke that entrepreneurs make. It's like, if you knew how hard it was going to be, you never would have started in the first place. And then it's laced with barbed wire. So it's really hard to cross. Okay. And then when you cross it, you get to the other side. And then at first, you're this 1.0 version still. So this is the 1.0 U over here. And this is still the 1.0 U. Or let's call it let's say it's the 1.5 version of you. You've made the trek, so you're close. But you're not the 2.0 version because you haven't acclimatized to the new gravity. And so what happens over here, once you get to the new planet, right? So for example, if you think about Michael Jordan, do you think when he got to the top, it was less pressure? No, right? No, it's not less pressure. It's more pressure. It doesn't go away, right? But you just acclimatize to it and you grow into the 2.0 version. However, to go from the 1.0 version to this 2.0 version, it takes time and you have to survive on the planet under the weight of the 5x gravity until 5x becomes your new 1x. Okay. And what would happen to you physically if you were to go over to a planet that was actually 5 times the weight of gravity? Well, you'd probably die, right? But, going with the analogy for a second here, your fight and flight
instincts would kick in and start screaming at you to go back to the 1.0 planet. And guess what the path back to the 1.0 planet looks like? Well, it looks like this really fun slippery slide. Woo! Nice. This is easy, right? And you've got like little stars over here, you know, and everyone's telling you it's okay. Why should you work that hard anyway? And come and spend time with the kids. And, I'm not saying you shouldn't spend time with the family and the kids, right? But it's like everyone on the 1% planet, they're going to be throwing you a parade as you slide back down, woo, over to the 99% planet. And guess what happens when you go from the 1% planet? You break, you crumble, and then you slide back to the 99% planet. Well, now you're back to the 1.0 version of yourself. And now when you look out over this path, this isn't invisible anymore. You know it's laced with barbed wire. And not only do you know it's laced with barbed wire, you know how heavy the weight is of the gravity on the side. Because when you're over here, you don't know that it's 5x gravity over here. You just see all the shiny benefits of the 1.0 planet or the 1% planet, and you're like, oh my God, I just want to move to that planet, right? You didn't know how number one, long the trek was going to be. Number two, it's laced with barbed wire, and barbed wire is all the discomfort, making calls, pushing back on objections, getting up early, dieting, going to the gym, saying no to the cookie, right? Having an uncomfortable conversation with your spouse or your partner or that family member or that friend, saying no to drinking, whatever it is, losing your friends, um, whatever it is, right? And I know this all sounds very doom and gloom. It's like, why the fuck would you want to be on the 1% planet? I I believe that most people shouldn't be on the 1% planet. And I also believe for the people that want to be on the 1% planet, it's not even that they want the 1% planet, as it is the 99% planet isn't an option. You know what I mean? I feel like for me, it's like I can't even imagine living my entire life on this 99% planet. I want all the benefits of the 1%, but it's more that I hate the 99%. And that's kind of like in an interesting way, we're kind of drawing Hell Island versus Heaven Island, aren't we? So when you make the trek over and you're in this 1.0 phase, this is where everything in your body is screaming at you. So, for example, when I first got into cold calling, the reason I got into sales is because I hated sales and I was terrible at it. And I was the 1.0 version over here in my mum and dad's basement. We were completely broke. And my dad was like 60 plus, couldn't pay the rent. I got bullied very heavily and I had pretty bad PTSD, like proper trauma from the bullying that I had. And so I was over here in this island and I was like, I just fucking hate this place. I don't even care what's going to happen. I just want to get over to here. And so I ventured out onto this ledge. I definitely did not know how long it was going to take. I definitely did not know how hard it was going to be. And then I got over to this planet, but I was a 1.5 version of me and I was getting squished and crushed by gravity. And so I've been through this many times in different levels. But for me, what this 1.5 version looked like for me was cold calling. So I knew that I had to learn sales to get out of my position because I didn't have any education or any money to go to school or anything. So I had to learn how to sell. And so I got the lowest rung sales job I possibly could find. Tell you, it's really funny actually. When I went in to the job interview, at the end of the job interview, I offered to work for free. I said, I'll work for free as long as you guys will allow me until you think that I'm ready to earn a place here. And the hiring manager at the time, I didn't realize that Census was like just the biggest churn and burn chop shop, right? They were hiring backpackers left, right, and center, churning through employees. She looked at me like I was crazy, and she's like, that's okay. It's a big company. We can pay you if we decide to go with you." I was like, "Oh, okay, thanks." But when I got that job, I was 18, and I was terrified. As soon as I got accepted, I was absolutely terrified. I got the job because I wanted to force myself to learn how to sell, and forcing myself to a new level of gravity. I forced myself into a new environment where the gravity was heavier, forced me to acclimatize and adapt to it. And so, what I want you to think about here is I want you to think lean in. That's one of the key takeaways from this. Lean in to the new gravity. When you're trying to level up, when you're trying to take on more closing calls, when you're trying to push yourself with your setting dials, when you're trying to hang in there with sophisticated prospects, when the discovery, they're giving you surface level answers and they're a sophisticated buyer and you try and push hard, even though you think they're going to give you shit answers. When you're in the close and you hang in there that 10% longer after they've given you a partner objection, you really challenge them. In the introduction on a setting call where they sound super disinterested and they're trying to fob you off and they tell you that they're in a meeting, but you persist anyway. All those things that give you that nervous feeling in your gut, like those butterflies, almost like you're at the start of a 100-meter sprint, that like almost sick discomfort, nerves feeling, that is your fight or flight response kicking in, screaming at you to stop. Go back to where it's comfortable. And the thing is, the reason I drew these two paths is because it is exceptionally hard to get onto this path and climb. But over here, you make one small step onto this slide and then bang, you slide all the way back down in an instant. And it's so hard to get back. So that's why you have to not buy in. And the fucked up part is you've got all your friends, all your family, everyone else on the 99% planet screaming, come back, we miss you. It's so much fun over here. You don't want all that stuff. It's not worth it. Blah, blah, blah. And then like you buy into it because your body's screaming at you that there must be an easy way. There must be an easier way. Don't make cold calls. There must be an easier way, right? Don't challenge them. It must be this other thing. It's not the thing. It's not the fact that you should wake up early or whatever it is, right? Your body and your fight or flight will scream at you. But I want you to know this. You need to lean in, okay? And it is a sign discomfort equals the right track. The right track, TRT. That stands for something else. But you're on the right path, okay? You are on the right path because it means you're acclimatizing to a new level of gravity on a new planet. And once that time happens, and the more gravity, the longer it will take, and also it depends on like if you're a 1.8 version of you instead of a 2, then it will be a little bit less, right? You can get there faster. But you need to acclimatize and stick here without going back, because the second you slide back down, it's so much harder to get back over to there where you were. And I think this is really important because I think most people in life, they want all the benefits that come from the 1% planet, but they have no idea the pressure that comes with it. And so they start taking the steps towards it. And when they start running into like the challenges, the pressure, the stress, the frustrations, all the negative emotions, they let their mind take control of the wheel, and they think it's the right move to get back on the slippery slide back to comfort town. And then they do this cycle their entire life because they never accept that they have to lean in, and they never acclimatize and become the 2.0 version. So they do this cycle forever and ever and ever. And that's why people think the people at the top are just lucky. It's the fact that they endured. They leant in, they knew it was the right path, and they endured the 5x level of gravity. And they went from 1.0 to 1.5 to 2.0, and then they stayed here, and then they were enjoying all the benefits of this. And then you acclimatize to it, right? And guess what happens when you acclimatize to it? You want to move to the next planet. And like for, depends on your path. But a lot of people, once you get here, you want to move to the next planet. Because isn't it true that you've already achieved a lot of goals that you thought once were going to make you really happy, right? But you have to keep on achieving. It's almost like this sickness. Well, it isn't a sickness, but it's funny when you talk about like this need, it can almost be described as a sickness. In my opinion, I don't think it's a sickness. I just think it's an obsession. And so when you're over here on the 1.x planet, right? So now you've made it to the 1.x planet, you can chill, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's nothing wrong with being on any of these planets. I'm just breaking it down for you because most people, they're not in an environment that ever gets them to a 1% planet. And when you start feeling all those negative emotions, like the nerves before making a sales call, the discomfort around pushing and challenging someone in the close and just not accepting what they give you, the discomfort of booking in 7 calls today instead of 3 calls, the discomfort of hitting 75 dials instead of 60 dials, right? All these discomforts and butterflies, the discomfort of giving up your Saturday morning to take sales calls, right? The discomfort of showing up to Breakfast Club on a Sunday night instead of going out with the boys. All of these things, all of these sacrifices and pains and challenges and discomfort is all the path. It is the path to success, and you're acclimatizing to it until it becomes your new normal. So, for example, when you're over here on the 1% planet, and then you want to move over here to the 0.1% planet, right? There's even fewer people over here. And if this is 5x gravity, this is 100x. So guess how shit this path looks? It looks really shit. Right? And this gravity is 100x. But the benefits of the 1% planet, it's the thing that people on the 99% planet look at and they can't even possibly fathom it. Right? But they also can't possibly fathom the work and the pressure and the stress and the accountability and the responsibility that comes with that. So I'm going to wrap this video up. I just want to say this is normal. You know what? I'll give you one last piece before I wrap this up. I'll draw out a little diagram and I'll try and give you some more practical takeaways from this. So let's just say we've got the 1.0 version of you and you're trying to go to the 2.0 version of you. Because the 2.0 version is enjoying all the rewards and the finances and all the cool shit that you want. Take care of their family, do all that stuff. I can tell you, if I stayed down here, I never would have been able to take care of my dad. And so for me, that was never an option. Cool. Now we got the line. So over here, I want you to list all the things and all the characteristics that you think you struggle with, and you can do this in adverse. Like, for example, like you can use inverted thinking here. Like, if I was to make sure I never became the 2.0 version of myself, so we ask it backwards, what would I do? Well, I would probably like show up late, show late. I would probably minus and not do the input. I'd probably leave early. I would probably ask no questions. I would probably do no additional study. No study/breakfast club. I probably wouldn't track my numbers. I would probably have terrible routines and poison my body with drugs and alcohol on a regular basis. I would probably listen to the opinions of everyone on the 99% planet. I'd probably not challenge myself, just stay comfortable. I'd probably not be consistent. You get the idea, right? So I can't give blanket enough advice because I don't know you watching this video perfectly right now. This is more of a general video for everyone, right? However, I want you to sit down and you'll know, right? You'll know the things that you should be doing, and you'll know because you won't want to look them in the mirror. You won't want to look at them. Um, the weekends when you sleep in, you won't want to look at that. The Netflix you watch at night to calm down or just before bed to wind down, but you end up watching a couple late episodes because you got hooked and you couldn't turn it off. The gym workout you skip, the McDonald's you get on the Saturday night. And I'm not saying don't enjoy your life. Because I realize that can come across. I'm just saying have the self-awareness that if you want to live here, you have to make this path. It just comes with different discomforts and sacrifices. Everybody wants this, but everyone wants to live here without the discomfort and without the sacrifices and without acclimatizing to the new level of gravity. So they get crushed and they slide back down. So I don't want this to come across as too negative because I actually think it's a really positive thing. I actually think it's really awesome. I think it brings a lot of clarity to what is it that I'm trying to do. And so, for example, when I first did this exercise, I sat down and I wrote down what are the things like the inverted thinking, and then like the opposite of this is the 2.0 version. So I would start early. Why don't I start dialing in the mornings at 8 a.m. so I get an hour in before the meeting? That way I'm already warmed up for my set calls. That way, as soon as the meeting ends, I just go bang straight into the dials. And what if I get a set in before the team meeting? I'm already set ahead for the day. 2.0 version of you, right? 1% planet outcomes. Why don't I stay late? And this isn't me like trying to convince everyone to work extra hours. This is just the reality of the real world. There's like I said, there's no problems with getting just a regular job. There's heaps of places where you can clock in at 9 and leave at 5 and no one cares. I would ask lots of questions, right? Heaps of questions. I'd be consistent. I would be constantly leaning in to the discomfort. You didn't want to hear that one, right? Neither do I. I'd go through this all the time. You get the idea. So there's like the characteristics and then there's the actual actions. So what's going to happen is when you're on this path, your body's going to be screaming at you. You're going to have like fucking having identity crises. You're not even going to, your body's going to be screaming at you. This isn't me. Stop this. Don't do this. And your body is the best salesperson for yourself. You deserve a break. Blah, blah, blah. All these things. Put it off. Don't dial now. They're probably, on their lunch break. Oh, it's 5 p.m. You should stop dialing. Everyone's on the train back from work. Oh, it's 8:45 in the morning. You shouldn't start dialing. Everyone's about to arrive at work, right? The 1.0 version is going to be screaming at you this entire trip to stop. However, if you just act and do the actions that the 2.0 version of you does, you will become them. So, for example, if I'm a setter, I'm going to start dialing at 8 a.m. What's going to happen when the 1.0 version of you shows up at 8 a.m. to hit the dial button? Everything in your fiber is going to start screaming at you, don't press dial. Just chill out for the hour, dude. Relax. Watch some YouTube videos. Scroll on TikTok. Just chill out. Read a book. Then show up to the team meeting. Get G'd up with the team. Then you can start at 10 a.m. when everyone else starts. That's totally fine. You can still hit your numbers. Boop. And guess what? If you dial at 8 a.m. for a week in a row, and then you take one day off, so you dialed 7 days at 8 a.m. start, bang, 1.5 version of you. Now you have to keep doing it. You have to acclimatize, because if you don't do it the next week, it's going to feel so easy. You're like, oh my God, I'm just going to take this week off dialing at 8 a.m. I feel so light and breezy and it's easy and I've got an extra hour. Little do you know, you slide him back, right? So what are the actions? He does a core review every day, despite how I feel. He eats healthy. Healthy. That's what that stands for. Exercise. What else? Listens to a win. I'll tell you one thing that nobody does enough. Asks lots of questions, and not just asking questions for the sake of asking questions, but asking questions with like an obsessive, maniacal level of focus on wanting to be the best version you possibly can. So even if you feel like the 1.0 version and everything in your fiber is screaming at you, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm terrified, I'm stressed, I'm anxious, I'm under pressure. This isn't me. I shouldn't be doing this. I'm going too hard. I need to stop. If you do these actions consistently, you will become the 2.0 version and you will acclimatize to this person. And then all these results will start showing up in your life. But unfortunately, all the results you want in life, they will never happen by accident. They're going to happen from extremely deliberate work and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing consistently against the grain, against your body, screaming everything at you. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, until it becomes your new level of average and normal. And the real truth is, even when you acclimatize to the 5x gravity, it's always going to feel a little heavier than the 1x. It's always going to feel a little heavier. But I tell you what, in my opinion, both of them are hard work. Because over here, I mean, we speak with the prospects every day, and you can just look around in your life. It doesn't take, Sherlock Holmes to discover that a lot of people, while they have quote unquote the freedom, they're completely miserable because they can't take care of their family. They barely ever see their kids because they are at work all the time, but they haven't got the rewards for it. At work, they're never competent enough or get enough raises or get enough promotions that they're ever really considered to be like a leader or given a responsibility or given the freedom. They're micromanaged until the age of, 50. And plus, not saying that 50 is old or anything, but just like, their entire lives. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to live over here, if you want these results, you have to lean in and you have to sprint towards it. And then when you get there, you have to stay there. And you just always keep slowly moving. Or you can like learn to maintain at that level. And you start by sitting down and being really honest with the 1.0 deficiencies you have. It's not that you suck or anything, it's just that they're deficiencies in relation to the 2.0 outcomes you want, right? You have to sit down and list them out. Am I being sloppy with my routines? And if you want an easier way to do this, you really just go over here and look at what are the actions that the 2.0 version of me would do. And if you have any questions around this stuff, just come and let me know. I can let you know. Because if we're talking sales specifically, I've been through a lot of these jumps and a lot of these hurdles, and I face it every single day. So I hope this video is valuable. I hope you got some stuff out of this. I highly recommend coming back and rewatching it, and just know that you're not alone. That the pressure and everything is a sign that you are on the right path. You have to lean in. Don't run away from it. Lean in and keep pushing and pushing and pushing, taking the actions despite how you feel of the 2.0 version of yourself, and you'll get everything that you've ever wanted. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.